Narumi is about to come out, and we're going to talk about how you can prepare and how I'm preparing. But above all else, we're going to discuss him and what he could potentially do. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Make sure that thumbs up and subscribe. If you are not subscribed, 80% of viewers are missing out by not being subscribed just like yourself. So make sure you do consider hitting that subscribe button. The like goal for today's video is going to be 100 likes. Pretty easy to do. Very simple, very sweet. Thank you so much if you help us contribute to it. If not, then I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anyway, so we did see the teaser a couple of days ago for Narumi, and we all knew it was Narumi. But oh, by the way, SLA is having a free run collab. That's pretty exciting. I didn't give a damn about their previous 2-month-long idol collab, but I care about the free run one, so I'll probably be back for that if you're a fan of my SLA content. Anyway, we saw the teaser for that. Now they put out the new teaser. Firstly, I gotta say, they are allergic to the hazard masks. They must have some sort of mandate. They refuse to put the characters out with the mask on. And so that's the first thing I noticed, because not even just the mask, but like even the I don't know, the covering, like, you know, they've got the full on mask and then they've got the covering piece. So anyway, they are allergic to that. Second thing I noticed is that they actually don't, like, this is what I mean, like this version of this mask versus, you know, this other one. They actually are following the manga version of him, which makes sense. I believe they did the same thing with Hoshina number 10 as well. They are following the manga's design, which tells me that these characters were made, and this is how gaming works anyway. These characters were made far in advance of their debut in the anime. Like, they had these characters already done in the chamber and based it off of the manga version, which also tells me that if they ever wanted to come back and remake this character, they could certainly make anime versions. I've said that, you know, since they don't do these masks or whatever, they can come back and make masked versions as well. Like, there's something going on with that. I think it's funny. But anyway, he's gonna look like this, which I actually prefer this silver. Let me know in the comments, but I actually prefer all the silver that he's got going on here. He looks pretty damn epic. Like, he's gonna look awesome in the game. And that's a look again right there again. So let me know what you guys think about him. We're going to go ahead and pivot over to my game so we could talk about preparing as well. So anyway, the first thing I like to say is we don't know what his class is. Like, we don't know if he's going to be an attacker. We don't know any of that stuff. But there are a few things you can do and that you should have frankly been doing so far. Anyway, the 10X is still ongoing. Remember initially I said you can save stamina jellies or things like that. I was met with some pushback because you don't necessarily have to play that way. But I know there's a lot of people that don't log in every 5 hours or so, give or take, to refresh or use their energy, and they're just letting it sit at capped. And at that point, maybe you would like to have had that. But what it also would allow you to do is in situations like this, you can say, okay, well, I have an idea of who's coming and we can get some attribute material or things like that. So for example, he could be any number of character. Like, I don't know if they're going to put one of these elements on him: fire, ice, wind, lightning. I have no idea. But I know for a fact, because he's Narumi, he should at least use one of shot or slash material, because again, he's Narumi. And that's just how he functions, so it is what it is. So you can, and these are also extremely universal. Most characters are using some combination of these front three. But especially slash and shot, of course. If they're not a blunt character, they're not using the fist one. So you can at least start farming these, and that is something I myself have been doing. In terms of basic materials, again, you need to be farming all three of these if you don't have this stuff already. I can't recall which of these is going to be next to get a rewards bump for double drops. I don't know which one is next. They put that in there. I don't know. There was some data mine stuff that is not even announced yet in terms of like other ones that'll be coming. Like, these roll materials have that in there too. Like, they just didn't announce that yet. And maybe they will next month. Who knows? But whatever is next, like, you can maybe offset that a little bit by waiting, but there's not a lot of time to wait because, again, we'll be coming out within the next couple of days here. I have to confirm exactly when, but I'm pretty sure he's coming out on like Tuesday. That's typically the update day. But Defense Force manuals, Kaiju Might, and credits are things you will typically need. In order to take a character up to level 100, you are going to need 200 there. You're going to need roughly about the amount I've got. In terms of books, you're going to roughly need around that amount of books overall to push character to level 100. I know from experience, I pushed a lot of my roster to level 100. What I can show you is I should have enough to do this. Nah, I don't want to do it. we're not going to bother with that. I was going to say what I can show you is what it looks like from level 90 to 100, because 90 to 100 is the most expensive version. I can show you 80 to 90 here. what it looks like. So you see it's going to kind of eat a lot of these, but these ones offer so much more overall. It's not even allowing me to show those. Let me show you the individual value of these books. We'll just deselect everything. So that one gives you that amount. And this one gives you, what, twice as much? Oh, like 5 times as much. Jesus. It gives you so much more value. So something like that is about roughly what you will need. And like I was mentioning, you know, those roll pieces are going to be something you also would potentially need. Another thing that's in here as well is the kaiju material. So in terms of kaiju material, the Hanju neutralization material, I guess I could say, oftentimes you're going to wind up needing the wyvern piece. So if you wanted to farm wyvern, that would be fine. Every now and again, you will also need the lizard scales. That's another piece that's they're all pretty consistently used aside from armored, which is brand new. But those are the most commonly used ones, I would say. You don't really need spider as much or bovine. So yeah, those are the 2 most commonly used ones if you wanted to do that to prepare. Aside from that though, kaiju medals. This is something I actually barely finished. This resets today, so maybe you're not going to get the chance to do it. He's Gen. I can't imagine him having any other medal but number 1, just to upgrade. In fact, what the hell does the regular Gen use? It's got to be number 1, right? Like you could... who is he fighting? Number 13 or whatever in the anime? Whichever one he's fighting. Yeah, he uses number 1 medals, as expected, right? I guess at some point when they add that kaiju into this game, they could make a Gen that requires his medals to upgrade. I don't know. They could do that. But yeah, he's certainly going to use number 1 medals. So if you haven't already, number 1 is unless there's a bait and switch in here, something nasty, there should be no other reason to use any other kaiju but kaiju number 1. I could certainly be wrong about any number of things in this video. Now, the last thing, this is where it's kind of interesting, is uniparts. You could very feasibly wait. Like, there's no harm in waiting, because we don't know. He could come out and be a defensive character, and if he's a defensive character, then you need bovine. In fact, as a matter of fact, I would say it's best to wait on this specifically. Frankly, it's probably best to wait for a lot of this stuff, but if you're waiting, you're behind the curve. That's the whole point of today's video. Like, you may argue, oh, you might as well wait. I mean, frankly, on some of this stuff, we know for a fact he will use, like this stuff, the kaiju number 1 medal. You could get ahead of the curve with that stuff. You need to be farming anyway, because that's the most important thing anyway. Like, you're logging in. What the hell are you doing if you're not farming? Like, there's nothing else really to do. It is what it is, right? But he could come out and have it. He could be a support character for all we know, in which case that changes. Assuming he's a DPS, I really think that fungal is one that is worth considering. It's either fungal or lizard in most cases. And then spider is good if he's a debuff heavy character, which he could potentially be. This is the one that increases attack and effect hit rate, I believe. And if that's the one I'm thinking about, maybe it's wyvern. Maybe I'm getting those confused. But if not, maybe it's ant. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it's spider. That's one that you could use potentially. But fungal and lizard seem to be the best too, just because they're crit focused, damage focused, etc. And that's just typically how you would like to go. Fungal is one that I'm starting to lean more towards fungal than anything else in this game. And that's simply because, and this may not be the case for you, may not be the case for you now. That's simply because as characters start to get some of these dupes invested, they start to pick up crit-based things. He picks up crit damage, ironically, but a lot of them start picking up crit rate when they use their skills and things like that. Like, for example, old Narumi, he gets extra crit in here. So, like, a lot of these characters start picking that up. So where prior to that, lizard would be the recommendation, but ultimately a lot of these characters start shifting towards fungal, which is annoying because you can't unequip. That system as a whole, I've complained about a lot. It really sucks, the whole unipart system. But that is basically my full-on guide of ways you guys can prepare right now. Another thing as well that's kind of in here is kind of weapon things. So you can make a decision on what you're doing. Some people are going to be pulling a lot. Some people aren't. Some people saved. Some people didn't. It is what it is. That's just normal standard gacha stuff. And that is, like I've said repeatedly, the one downside to being caught up on this game is there's not a backlog of content for you to farm. And if you're going to summon on every single gacha that pops up, you're not going to have gems. Now, they will put gems into the economy with the update, of course. There will be that. There will be probably their usual, like 1,000 for the maintenance and all that, whatever the hell it is, 500 or 1,000 for the maintenance. they're going to do that. Like, you know, they're going to do that. They're going to have probably a couple of events, etc. But they're not going to put a ton of multis into the economy just with this one update. There needs to be a backlog. They're going to refresh some other content. But if you are in that position where you're not going to summon all too much for whatever reason, I can understand that as well. And maybe you get lucky and you just pull Gen off the rip, and at that point, he should have the same exact gun sword type weapon, because they didn't change this in the anime or in the series at all for whenever he, in the manga otherwise, whenever he puts on the full suit, he doesn't have a new custom weapon. He's still using his gun sword. So, you know, maybe you can use the pre-existing one. But what I will say is that if we know anything from like Hoshina number 10, who comes out again with the same dual weapon, even though you could argue maybe he could use a single weapon, but whatever. The single best one is going to be the one that's there, but you do have other options, especially with the gun sword, because the gun sword actually has, I don't know, 3 to 4 different variants in the game right now, depending on where you're going in the shop and stuff like that. So maybe you could use an alternative gun sword other than the normal one that would be on the standard Gen. Maybe that would be better for the next upcoming character. But I wonder, let me know in the comments down below. In terms of this, I clearly, as you see, don't have enough. I'll probably buy a handful of multis, see if I can get him. That'd be fine. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it lines up with my gold medal or gacha medal exchange. I was unfortunately unable to pull Chester's dupe. I really wanted to get a dupe of Chester and then come to the shop in exchange for the second dupe for Chester. But I was unable to do so. I mean, I could have kept trying, and this ends today. But I did a ton of summons, and it just could not get the second Chester to drop. It was really annoying. So I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to keep spending money. There's no point. And if you, by the way, unless you've got a lot of disposable income, I don't recommend that anyway. It's nice to support the game. I can understand that. But I'm in a unique situation with what I'm able to do because I'm a YouTuber and it's my job and I get a bunch of other perks for doing it. So anyway, my plan is to do a handful of summons and then come to the exchange here. And then if I get him, great. If I get his weapon, that's even better, right? Like, not better, but if I get something, that's good. But at the bare minimum, actually, I don't even need to do any summons. I was thinking 500 for some reason. I've actually got enough to just flat out claim him and his weapon. So maybe I do that instead and save myself like $60. I may just do that. I do still want the stupid Chester. Now, the thing is with Chester and Kikaru, they will not be on this gacha. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be unfeatured on the gacha. We will see. I doubt it. But otherwise, what they will do is since they're leaving... actually, no. They will be unfeatured on this gacha. I was for some reason thinking, even though we just talked about it, it's early in the morning. So I was just thinking they would have a little bit more time. They'd overlap. No, since there's no overlap, they will be on this gacha unfeatured. Same thing with Hoshina number 10. He will also be on this Narumi banner. Those are characters that you can pull. So as the game gets more characters put into these not general pools, but into these pickup pools, then you'll be able to pull these characters. Now, the question is, when will these characters make their way to standard? And I couldn't tell you. No idea what the plan is with standard. Initially, I thought that, they were saying that the characters would go here. That is not the case so far. I don't know when the updates will come to this. Eventually, they will update this. You just got to hope it's not like every 6 months, but we'll see what happens with that ultimately. But maybe let me know in the comments what position you're in. Are you going to do a bunch of summons? Do you have no summons? Are you going to claim him? Did you save that stuff? Let me know, because there's a number of different situations people can be in potentially for that. But ultimately, we're going to go ahead and wrap this here. I just realized I had no music on for this entire video. So that's great. But anyway, it is what it is. At least you can hear me. Thank you so much. I'll see you all in the next video.